Joining us now is Tom Fitton. Tom is the president of Judicial Watch. His new book is A Republic Under Assault, the Left's Ongoing Attack on American Freedom, available for pre-order right now. Good to have you with us, Tom. Let's talk about Joe Pinka. He is the mystery man in all of this. He was the other FBI agent who accompanied Peter Strzok to the White House to entrap and to frame General Michael Flynn. How has the FBI gotten away with hiding this man and keeping him out of all view, at least I'm aware of, all public view?
Ask Director Wray. The FBI has been covering up key documents for years, and Wray's been part of the cover-up. The Justice Department's allowed it to go on as well. With these documents that came out this week, which document, these are FBI reports showing that Patenka, Strzok, and Kleinsmith, the guy who said that Viva la Resistance in his text messages and then altered allegedly the CIA information about Carter Page to make Page look like a bad guy when in fact he was a hero in order to get a FISA warrant. They went in with the intelligence briefing, a counterintelligence briefing to the Trump team. The president was there, then candidate Trump. General Flynn was there, and they were spying on him directly. They were taking notes about what Trump was saying and what Flynn were saying. Of course, they were saying innocent things, and they went in there under false pretenses, abused their trust, and then we get documents last week, Lou, that show that Strzok wanted to do the same thing at the Trump White House. Go in there under the false pretenses of FBI counterintelligence briefings to spy on Trump. Nothing like this has ever happened in American history. The president is being charitable to Barack Obama. Obama makes Richard Nixon look like a piker when it comes to targeting his political enemies.
And look at who has said that they're not going to reach to the Obama White House, will not be interested in talking with President Obama or Vice President Biden. The Attorney General has said that. The chair of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate has said that. I mean, that's outrageous that they would not reach as far as the facts take them. And the facts right now are pointing in that direction, I think, with bright red blinking lights.
There's that famous January 5th, 2017 meeting. It's an infamous meeting in the Oval Office where they talked about the dossier, the Logan Act, General Flynn being innocent, yet they all went to spy on and harass President Trump and obviously target General Flynn, Biden, Obama. They were all involved there. You put your finger on it. General Barr has said he doesn't even want to question these guys, Biden and Obama, about what they knew. That's why we filed a federal lawsuit this week to find out details about that corruption, because it's pretty clear DOJ is going to give Joe Biden a pass despite him being involved in the Obamagate scandal. In the least, they're witnesses, Lou. Let's say they're completely innocent of any wrongdoing. At least tell us what they knew and when so we can figure out who did the wrong thing.
Yeah, well, absolutely. This president has been under investigation by those very agencies, those very departments for almost 4 years. And we're not going to ask a question of the president who authorized such outright scandalous, treasonous behavior. I mean, it's insane to think that he didn't authorize it. They're having meetings in the Oval Office, for crying out loud. It's deeply, deeply frustrating. Let me turn to Judicial Watch, your lawsuit against the Department of Education, trying to find out how in the world so much money is sloshing around from foreign nations and hostile powers at that. What are you hoping to find here, and why are we just now learning about all of this? We know the Chinese have been carrying out espionage activities and surveillance for the People's Republic of China for at least 2 decades in this country. Why now?
Well, it's come to a head, and frankly, the Trump administration deserves credit for highlighting this issue. For all the complaints we've had about DOJ and FBI and state, at least they're calling attention to the China problem in a coordinated way now. Department of Education, they're supposed to get reports from colleges and universities if those universities get $250,000 or more from a foreign government. according to one report, at least 70 colleges didn't report that type of grant activity from the Chinese. We want the details. We're suing for the info. We also have a lawsuit of the Qatarans. Qatar has given Texas A&M a boatload of money. We're in court against their high-priced lawyers to try to get information about that gift. Texas A&M has got a campus over in Qatar, and they won't give us any details about the gift that seemingly has resulted in that campus being sent to that terror-supporting country.
Well, obviously I'm more concerned about China. I am more concerned about Russia. And when I'm asking what has taken so long, 2 decades of surveillance, I mean, this has been going on for 20 years, and only now are those agencies that have harassed and pursued and persecuted this president for 4 years, they're just now awakening to the fact that China is shipping in spies who don't tell the truth. I mean, I can't believe the nonsense that I'm hearing from the FBI, that they just can't believe that effectively that these Chinese nationals who were sent to this country by the PLA to spy and to steal U.S. technology and intellectual property, that they would lie on immigration documents? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember, Lou, back in the Clinton administration where you had the Chinese in a coordinated effort trying to influence our elections, and we presume that just stopped. They were bankrolling Bill and Hillary Clinton, targeting Senator Feinstein. She got a briefing about it, but then presumably they stopped. Of course they didn't stop. They were let off the hook, and now we see the results 20 years later.
Absolutely. And thanks to you and to Judicial Watch, we see a little clearer. Thank you so much, Tom. Appreciate it.